Hello everyone, my name is Beryl Young and I'm talking to you today from Vancouver, the other side of the country. I'd like to introduce you to my book, A Boy from Acadie, Roméo LeBlanc's Journey to Rideau Hall. It's available in English and French and is published by Bouton d'Or Acadie, right in New Brunswick. I'll tell you a bit about the book and then I'll read for about 10 minutes from the book so you can have an idea what the story's like. Roméo LeBlanc was born in 1927 in Memramcook. Some of you may know that town. He had 7 brothers and sisters, and sadly his mother had died when Roméo was 8. Roméo loved school. He loved everything about school so much that he would arrive early to help the teacher. But when he finished grade 7, Roméo's father announced that there would be no more school for Roméo. Roméo understood because none of his brothers and sisters had been able to go on to school, and he was needed like them to work on the farm. I'll read from chapter 3, which is called No More School. The long summer of farm work was over. Roméo had spent every day in August with his father, cutting down spruce trees on the farm to sell as firewood. The wood had to be chopped and loaded onto a wagon. It was hard work. Roméo could feel his legs growing stronger and there were new muscles in his arms. In some ways, it was good to be fit and active after a winter of sitting at the school desk, but he was starting to feel bored. Was this what he'd be doing the rest of his life? In September, some of his friends from Cormier Cove had started high school in Moncton, over 30 kilometers away. But for Roméo, it was time to hitch the horses to the wagon and go with his dad to take the chopped wood into Memramcook. The first load was destined for the largest building, St. Joseph's College, run by the Holy Cross Fathers. It offered 3 years of high school, as well as 4 years to complete a university education. Roméo's father drove the horses to a large shed at the back of the brick building. He motioned for Roméo to get down and start unloading the wood. For almost an hour, they worked to pile the wood in the shed. The back door of the college opened, and Father Superior LaPalme came out, ready to pay Roméo's father for the wood. The payment had nothing to do with Roméo, so he reached for his book he'd been reading and jumped back up onto the wagon. He barely listened to his father talk to the priest. Père LaPalme asked why the boy wasn't in school. Roméo's father, Phileas, answered, "My son finished school in June. He's needed to help around the farm." "He's got his nose in a book," Père LaPalme said. "Seems like a bright boy." Phileas answered, "Roméo's always reading. He'll soon get used to hard work." Père LaPalme shrugged his shoulders. "That seems a shame," he said. "The boy might be a good student." At this, Roméo finally looked up and stared at the tall building with its long rows of windows on 5 floors. Classrooms, teachers, books. Père LaPalme must have seen the longing on Roméo's face, and he leaned closer to Roméo's father, trying to persuade him. "The college students learn English. It's important for getting on in the world." Roméo's father didn't answer. Père LaPalme tried again, making an offer. "I'll tell you what," he said. "If you give the college that winter's load of wood, St. Joseph's will give your boy a year's free tuition." Roméo's father shook his head. "Merci, no. All my sons work on our farm." Père LaPalme looked at Roméo's father. "Think about it," he said. "It's a fair deal for you and an opportunity for your boy." Roméo was really listening now. Phileas looked right back at Père LaPalme. "I won't change my mind," he said firmly. Père LaPalme said he understood and handed over the money for the load of wood. As they drove away, Roméo put his head down. His eyes were stinging so sharply he couldn't pick up his book to read. The next chapter, Emily decides to help. As the weeks passed, Roméo didn't think too much about his missed opportunity. His father set the rules in the family, and at age 12 you obeyed them. Romeo worked every day around the farm, hoeing the turnips needed for cattle feed, cutting wood, and handling the cows, always on the watch for the big bull. Each day it became clearer in his mind that he wasn't like his brothers. They enjoyed farm work. He never would. The autumn went on, and the family looked forward to Romeo's sister, Emily, coming home for Thanksgiving weekend. Emily arrived, full of stories about her work as a maid in Boston. She made them all laugh with funny tales about the family she worked for. The girls did their best to prepare a good meal for their family. They made a big pot of chicken frico, the dish their mother had made for special occasions. At the dinner table, Emily asked how everyone was doing. Somehow it came out that earlier in September, the Father Superior at St. Joseph's had offered Romeo a place in grade 8 at the college. When Emily heard that her father had said no to the offer, she put down her spoon and looked across the table. "Papa, I don't understand. Why would you deny Romeo the chance to get more education?" Phileas continued eating. Emily spoke again. "Romeo's the smartest one in our family. He should get this chance, a chance to get out in the world instead of being stuck on the farm." Their father shook his head. "A high school education just trains boys to be clerks and lawyers. I want my sons to stay honest, not just be out for the money." Emily said, "If Mama were here, she would want Romeo to go to high school." Phileas looked solemn, and everyone around the table was quiet. It was true. But the subject of Romeo going to high school was dropped, and the meal continued. Emily lay awake in bed all night. The boys in the American family she worked for would all go to high school. Romeo should have that opportunity too. Look how well he'd done in school, how his teachers had praised his work and said he was so smart. It was obvious that he didn't fit into farm life. The next morning, Emily had made a decision. She would use her own money to pay Romeo's tuition at the college, and her father couldn't stop her. Phileas didn't put up much of a fight. Perhaps the reminder about his beloved wife made him think differently about Romeo. Emily didn't have much money saved. Before she left for her job across the border, she arranged with the college to pay Romeo's fees in installments throughout the year. She would pay the money a month at a time. Romeo would be the first one in his family to attend high school, and it would be thanks to a sister working as a maid in an American home. So as you can imagine, Romeo did very well at school. He graduated with good marks from high school and then from university. He did so well that he even won a scholarship to study in Paris at the Sorbonne. He then decided that he would go to work in Ottawa in politics. So he was really interested in politics. And he was offered an amazing opportunity, but he was asked to do a very important job. You will have to read the rest of the book to find out exactly how a poor boy from a small village, Acadian village, in New Brunswick, could one day be invited to dine with Queen Elizabeth. Happy reading to you all. Bye-bye.